It's time to hit the road and discover Texas with Annie Studebaker. Get ready to travel deep into the heart of the Lone Star State, meeting friendly folks and exploring fascinating places. Experience a way of life like nowhere else in the world as we uncover the rich history and culture of Texas. Discover adventure, discover excitement, discover Texas with Annie Studebaker.
Today we get to meet Caleb Schock from Santa Monica, Texas. He works with one of the most amazing little creatures on earth, honeybees. They are the pollinators that most of our crops depend on. Honey is the most precious resource. Its sweet taste makes it ideal for eating and cooking. In fact, people have been using honey since before recorded history. As a food source, as a sweetener, as a religious offering, and even an embalming fluid. But did you know that honey can be used to treat wounds, fight illnesses, and prevent allergies? Bees have one purpose: to serve the colony. The entire life cycle of the bee revolves around the survival of the colony and their queen. And to survive, bees need pollen and nectar. Pollen is full of proteins, vitamins, minerals, and essential fatty acids. Nectar is a liquid rich in sugar that plants produce to attract pollinating animals. These sugars give bees the energy they need to keep buzzing along. Bees can depend on a steady supply of pollen and nectar during most of the year. But what happens during the winter when they can't find the flowers they need? Ever resourceful, bees take the nectar they collect in the good months and store it for the tough times. They do this by turning it into honey. For a better explanation of bees and their honey-making process, we thought we'd consult an expert. Just north of Harlingen sits the little town of Santa Monica. That's where you'll find Grace Heritage Ranch, a self-sustaining homestead specializing in heritage breeds of animals and heirloom varieties of plants. It also happens to be the home of the Schock family. The Schocks have a passion for sharing what they've learned throughout the years with the community. At their homestead, they often hold tours and host school groups. Caleb is their resident bee expert. He's been raising bees for years and also runs a bee removal service. We knew he was the perfect person to give us some more insight.
Here at Grace Heritage Ranch, we're trying to homestead and live off the land. And so that's why we have all the different animals and stuff we have, is because we're trying to be as self-sustaining as possible. And so we started giving tours of that and showing people kind of our lifestyle. And so we let people feed the animals. We show them all the different animals we have and explain to them why we have them. We let them see our garden, and we let people milk a goat, usually a goat. We let them milk, sometimes in the future it might be a cow, but right now we're letting them milk a goat. I talk for a little bit about honeybees and show them some of a beehive, an empty one, an empty beehive, and some of the beekeeping tools I use and that sort of stuff.
Caleb suggested we take a tour of the hives. Of course, that meant taking precautions.
So this is one of the most important tools for beekeeping. This is a honeybee smoker. And what this is used for is to keep the bees calm. So the suit will keep the bees from stinging you, but you still can't work with bees when they're all aggressive and they're trying to sting you and they're angry.
So the smoke makes them kind of lethargic?
The smoke is what keeps them calm, and what it does is it makes them think that there's a fire. And so what happens is the bees smell the smoke and they think there's a fire, so they go and they start eating honey. Because their thought is, there's a fire that's close enough to the beehive, we can smell all the smoke, so we need to go eat honey, need to go and eat honey in case the fire gets close enough that it would actually burn the hive. We can leave and start a new hive somewhere else. So they go and they start eating honey and they start worrying about a fire that they think is around, instead of about me, and I can open up the hive and pull out flames and stuff without them attacking.
Wow.
Because otherwise, you open up a hive, even a docile hive, they're going to think something's breaking into the hive, something just tore off the roof, and they're going to get angry.
The smoker does a lot to keep bees calm, but that won't protect us against stings. Luckily, Caleb had some beekeeper suits handy. This is one way to be safe. Let's go check it out.
All right. So the hive that we're going to inspect, like I said, some of these are aggressive and I don't really remember which ones.
Okay.
So we're going to go to the hive on the end, which is one I know is not aggressive.
Oh, wow, look at them. So how do bees turn nectar into honey? It all starts with finding the right flowers. It falls to the worker bees to gather nectar and pollen for all their brothers and sisters. A single worker bee can fly up to 4 miles away to find flowers with the nectar she needs, and she'll visit 50 to 100 flowers during every trip. The worker bee sucks the nectar from the flower and stores it in a special sac known as the honey stomach. There, the nectar is mixed with a special enzyme which breaks it down into the simple sugars that make up honey. She then takes the honey back to the hive and gives it to the house bees to process, who then process it further with their own enzymes and keep passing it down the line, mouth to mouth. Each pass reduces the honey's moisture content, causing it to thicken. Once the honey is thick enough, it's stored away in a cell. The air circulated by the colony's wings further evaporates the moisture, and once the honey is ready, the cell is capped with wax. When we arrived at the hive, Caleb told me to be careful where I stood. Can I look on this side?
You could be on that side
Okay.
or right here. Either way, just not in the entrance.
Okay.
Because this is where the bees are coming and going. And so you don't want to block the entrance, otherwise bees can't come and go and they'll start getting excited. But also a lot of the guard bees are going to be at the entrance. Bees are guarding the hive to not making sure other bees don't get in. These bees here are fanning their wings right now, so they're creating circulation to cool the hive. But I'm going to put a little bit of smoke inside the entrance. And a little bit of smoke in the entrance up here. And then just wait a little bit.
Well, I can really hear them now.
They're running towards the honey. Go eat honey, so all the bees are moving. That's what that sound is. Put that down there. I put some smoke in the little hole of the inner cover.
Wow, you're handling it without gloves, you brave man.
Well, you gotta know the temperament of the hive. This hive's a very docile one, like I said. If it's an aggressive hive, you don't want to do it without gloves. So this hive, pull out the first frame on the end, which doesn't have any comb built in it yet. So I'll put that down right here. That frame. So always gotta be careful not to squish bees. Not only is it sad,
Yeah.
but also it'll give off a scent that the other bees will realize a bee died, so
Uh-oh.
best to avoid killing them.
Wow, look at that.
This comb is mainly honey.
Wow.
So this comb here is the capped honey. That's what all that is. This comb is actually brood comb, so this is where the baby honeybees would be. But the bees filled it up with honey over the winter, and so now they're eating it up, uncapping it and eating it up. Eventually it'll be used for brood again. And same thing on this side. Very similar pattern. They had the brood comb in that corner and the rest was honey. And when I put the frame back, I want to make sure I put it back in the same direction that it was. So I don't want to put it back this way if it was originally this way. I want to put it back exactly the way the bees had it, so it doesn't confuse them. So it was inside this direction. So I'll put that one back. And this one's got a little bit of comb that they're just starting.
Oh, that's interesting.
So a lot of beekeepers will use what's called foundation in these frames, where it's pretty much a thin sheet of either beeswax or plastic that starts the comb for the bees. And when I first started beekeeping, I started using foundation, but now that cell size is actually larger than what the bees build, and so that's been being linked to a lot of disease problems. Like varroa mites and stuff. And so because I do my bees 100% naturally without the use of any chemicals, one of the first defense against like varroa mites is to let them build their own comb with a natural cell size that's actually smaller.
Nice.
And so what I use is what's called a comb guide, which is this little piece of wood here. Because they usually start building comb at the lowest point. So it's got a little piece of wood across it, and that's where they started the comb, just like they were supposed to. And eventually they'll build it down and around and fill it up just like they had the other frame.
Interesting.
And so this one, now, because this is natural comb, so if it was built with foundation, normally it'll have wires going through it or it'll be plastic. But this, because it's pure beeswax, it's not attached to the bottom or the sides very well, so I can't tilt it sideways. You gotta have it straight up and down with gravity, or like this, but not turning it
Upside
sideways.
down,
So yeah. Now this comb is kind of unique. This is not honeycomb, even though they filled it up with honey. So this one right here, so this is brood comb. This is the baby bees. That's capped baby. So the queen will lay the egg, it'll grow bigger, and then the bees will cap it. They put a capping over the cell, but this is more like a paper capping, unlike the honey capping, that's wax. They put a capping over the cell, and then it completely develops. And then this comb right here, this is some brood comb they filled with honey. This is brood comb that they filled with actual babies. But then this comb right here, see how those cells are larger?
Yes.
Those are actually drone combs, so that's where the boy honeybees are laid.
Oh, wow.
And so it's just like brood comb, but the drone comb's larger. So the cells are different sizes. The brood comb is the smallest cell. The honeycomb, they kind of build it medium, and they can build honeycomb all different sizes because it doesn't have to be an exact size because it's just used for storing honey. There's no bee developing in it. But the drone comb, and then the drone comb, they build bigger. So you got 3 different cell sizes. Inside these cells, you should be able to see those little grubs and even some little eggs.
Why is this dark?
Because brood comb is darker than honeycomb. So honeycomb, any comb when the bees first build it, it's white for the first few days. The brood comb will darken into a brown and it'll stay that way. The honeycomb will darken into a yellow and then over time eventually turn black over like a year or 2.
Oh, okay.
And so the brood comb, so this is all dark because this is brood comb, but during the winter they fill up a lot of the brood comb with honey. And so that's why, so it's still stored with some honey inside of it from over winter. They use the brood comb to store extra honey since the queen's not using it because she stops laying almost completely during the winter.
Oh,
and they need extra honey, so they use the brood comb to fill up with more honey.
It was time to get some hands-on experience. I was just happy to have a pair of thick gloves between me and all those
Because you have
bees.
gloves, won't even be able to sting through those gloves. So.
I know, but I don't, there, I have a good grip on this
There
side.
we go. Yep, perfect.
I'm trying to get my finger underneath there. There we go.
Lift it up slowly. There we
Darn,
go.
I'm brave. Darn.
Nice.
Look at that.
And that's all brood. That's a good brood pattern, meaning there's lots of capped, so that means the queen's laying lots of eggs.
Okay, get a good look at this because I'm not sure I'll ever do this again. I'm going to go ahead and put it back.
After all this excitement, I need a break. When we return, Caleb will show us the most important part of the operation, getting the honey out of the comb.
Hold on to your hat. We'll be right back.
Honey can last practically forever without spoiling. There are 3 reasons for this. First, honey is hygroscopic, meaning that not only does it have low moisture content, it also draws in moisture from its environment. Bacteria and other microorganisms can't survive without moisture, and even if they could, they'd probably be killed off by the second reason, acidity. Honey sits between 3 and 4.5 on the pH scale, making it a hostile environment for anything trying to grow inside. The third reason is the most fascinating. When bees are collecting nectar, they add a special enzyme to break it down into simple sugars. But every time they do that, there's a bit of byproduct, hydrogen peroxide. Think about that. Not only is honey the most hostile place for microorganisms to try to live, but honey also actively attacks their cell walls with hydrogen peroxide. All of these factors not only give honey its long shelf life, but they also give it amazing medicinal properties. Okay, all this bee stuff is so interesting. Tell me what we're going to be doing next.
Alright, so this is a super filled with honey. I took it off of the beehive. So inside here there are 10 frames filled with honeycomb, capped honey.
I bet that's real heavy. Let me see.
Yeah, that's pretty heavy.
Oh my goodness.
And then you try to lift the whole box and it's real heavy.
Oh, look at that. That's interesting. It's thick. It's super thick, like an inch thick. Very nice.
And if I had left, it has 10 frames in the box. If I put 9 frames in, they would have made it even thicker. They'll make honeycomb real thick if I let them. But, so what I'm going to do is show you how I get the honey out of the comb, I'm going to use this machine, which is called a honey extractor, and this will extract the honey from the comb. So what I'll do is I'm going to uncap the cells. So what I use is this uncapping roller, which just has a bunch of spikes on it, and it goes through and pokes a hole inside the caps. I'm going to put them in here, and then this spins them, and the centrifugal force forces the honey out of the cells. It hits into the sides and runs down into the bottom, where then I can bottle it. It goes through a strainer. It runs down to the bottom, goes through a strainer, and is ready to be bottled.
Ooh, that's getting full. Look at that. Awesome. Ooh!
All right.
Now that we learned a bit about honey, it's time to make something delicious with it. After the break, I'll make a beeline to the kitchen and show you how to make honey crisps.
Hold on to your hat. We'll be right back.
Okay, today we have an interesting dessert, snack, whatever you want to call it. Honey crisps. I love them. My mom makes them quite often. And it's really a simple recipe. All you need is wontons. You get them at your Asian supermarket or at your closest supermarket, really. We need some honey, orange juice, and some chopped pecans. And of course some oil to brown the wontons. And that's it. So we can get started now. It's lovely, lovely, delicious. I can't wait. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and see. I've got oil in there already heated, so we're going to see if it's ready. Yes, definitely. See, you're going to start putting your wontons in there, and make sure you don't get burned because this can splatter a little bit. And you want them kind of brown. You don't want them dark because they start changing taste. Even though they're not burnt, they'll taste different. Meanwhile, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to stick some honey in here, turn the burner on low to medium low, and we're going to put about half a jar of honey. This is what we're going to coat the wontons with. Put that aside. Let it heat up. Once it's a little bit warm, we'll go ahead and stick the orange juice in there. And that one's ready to go. This one's a little white. This one's ready. So we'll go ahead and put it here. Awkward situation. My bigger burner is on the opposite side, so I'll have to bring this over here. See where they're getting golden brown? That's nice. That's nice. I like to use my tongs for this because, wow. So, and then we just stick another 4 in there. Make sure your heat is also not too hot. And how my little boy likes to eat it is with ice cream. Cut a piece of it and stick it in there. So good. I personally like it just like that. I'll show you in a minute. These are a little bit on the wider side, but that's okay. We're flipping them over. And it's already heating up. We're going to squeeze the orange juice in there here shortly. This is the color I like. They're not too brown. They're golden. Yes, this is already getting warm. I like it. This is already getting warm, so it's ready for the orange juice. And all we're going to do is we're going to squeeze just a tad of orange juice. Just enough to give it a little flavor. That's about it. I almost want to try this. So good. You could taste the hint of orange juice in there. Real tasty, real tasty. I'm going to go ahead and put the honey here. And we are going to get ready to coat them. And all you do, it's really simple. You just get honey and coat them on top. And I'm going to do a few. I got some honey. This is not real hot, it's just warm. And I do 3 at a time, and what I like to do is then quickly sprinkle whatever you're going to sprinkle on top. Today we're going to do chopped pecans. So this is all we do. And the honey will make the pecan stick to it. So to the wonton, and every bite you take is just delicious. That's it, simple. We go to the next one, and so on. And you could coat it on either side, whichever you prefer. It doesn't make any difference. Let's do the last one here. That's it. As simple as that. Now we put pecans, just to give it that extra taste. Good taste. Yum. Look at that. That was perfect. Now you know what comes next. I get to sample it. I'll take this little broken one. Listen to the crunch. That is truly good. I've got to finish this little piece. It's one of those things that you just want to keep eating. It's sweet, crunchy. It's truly delicious. You'll have to try it sometime. Simple recipe, quick, and enjoyable. I have a great deal of respect for these busy bees. They work hard, produce plenty, and we benefit from them. I hope that you have enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to make this Honeycrisp recipe. You will not regret it. This is Annie Studebaker. Stay sweet.